Hello and welcome to the first in this 10-part series of Explore. If you haven't watched the introduction video yet, I'd really recommend just watching that quickly so you've got an idea of what this series is all about. In today's practice, in our first episode in this new series, we are exploring AHIMSA, the concept of non-harming, compassion, kindness. This comes from the 10 yamas and niyamas that we'll be exploring throughout this series. So in today's practice, it's going to be fairly strong and fiery. We're going to get moving, we're going to build some heat, some strength, some power through the body. We're also going to have a little play around with a balancing posture, but we'll get to that when we get to it. If you have a blanket nearby, or maybe even just a towel or a cushion, then you could grab that and it will just make things a bit more comfy when we come to sit on the mat. We're going to start off sitting. So if you are using a cushion or blanket, just make sure it's nice and comfy. Come to sit with your legs crossed in Sukhasana, easy pose. This, although it's called easy pose, not always the easiest place. I know it can be quite tough on the hips, on the lower back. Sitting up on a high cushion or something similar can really make it a little bit easier. It is a brilliant posture for building strength through your core, through your back, and starting to improve your flexibility around your hips. So if you can get into a cross-legged position, that's a great place to start. We won't be here for too long. Sit nice and tall and bring your hands to rest on your knees. Take a breath in through your nose and bring your shoulders up towards your ears. Close your eyes as you exhale through your mouth and let your shoulders sink back down. Again, breathing in through the nose, squeeze your shoulders up. Sigh out through your mouth as your shoulders come down. Let's do 2 more breaths like that to begin. Breathing in through the nose. Releasing out. And last one, breathing in and out. And start to breathe both in and out through your nose. Bring one hand to your chest and the other hand to your belly. Let your shoulders relax now. And if you're comfortable keeping your eyes closed, then you can keep your eyes closed. Let your forehead soften and try and release any tension from around your jaw. Just start to breathe a little bit more consciously. So slow, easy breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Think about trying to inflate your belly with each breath. So engaging in diaphragmatic breathing straight away. So as you draw the breath in, you want to try and feel your belly inflate and expand. As you exhale, the belly deflates. Don't worry too much if that doesn't come naturally to you. Just bring some awareness to your breath. Continue breathing steadily as we settle in for our practice together. The practice today is going to focus on the concept of AHIMSA, non-harming. Now this relates to how we interact with the world around us. We want to try not to cause any harm or suffering to other beings, but also strongly relates to how we connect with ourselves. Often the most harm we ever cause is towards ourselves. So when we're practicing yoga, when we move through the asanas, the postures, we want to practice non-harming, AHIMSA, by coming out of poses that could cause us harm. So if you know you have a weak wrist, for example, or you have an injury in your hip, and there's a posture that feels like it's aggravating that, then that's a good opportunity for you to practice AHIMSA, to come out of the pose, or see if you can make an adjustment that makes it feel safer. We can also think about AHIMSA in our practice on the mat and off the mat, in the way that we talk to ourselves and think about ourselves. And we'll come back to that a little bit later in the practice too. Let's take one more slightly deeper breath. And when you feel ready, You can open your eyes and release the hands. Okay, let's get moving. So we'll cross the legs the other way now. Bring your hands down to the ground by your sides. We're going to take the right hand first of all forwards and diagonally across the body, reaching up and over into a big side body stretch. Take a big breath in here. And then exhale, same line, diagonally across on the way back down. Going to the other side, take the left arm, reach it forwards, diagonally across. Inhale, reaching up and over. Exhale on the way back down. Just keep that going with your breath, breathing in as the arm comes across, up and over. Breathing out on the way back down. Connecting the movement with the breath. If it feels uncoordinated, don't worry. You really can't do this wrong. Just keep moving, keep breathing. You're doing just great, exactly as you are. Already this is an opportunity to practice kindness in the way you talk to yourself. If you think you're not doing it right, or you think maybe it doesn't look exactly as it should, just be kind to yourself along the way. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's okay for it not to be perfect. So take one more breath to each side. And then coming back up to sit. Sit nice and tall. Bring your right hand across to your opposite knee. Bring your left fingertips to the ground just behind you. Sit as tall as you can and start to rotate to the left. Turning your chest, turning your head. See if you can still engage with the diaphragmatic breathing, so breathing down into your belly. Another breath in. Exhale as you come back round to the centre. Going the other way, left hand across, right hand behind, sit tall, slowly rotate to the right. Turning your head, keeping length through the spine, so still sitting upright, and trying as best you can to breathe downwards into the belly. Another breath in. Exhale back to centre. Lovely. Bring your hands together, interlace your fingers and draw a figure of 8 with your knuckles. Just warming up the wrists a bit here. You might hear some good clicks and crunches through your wrists as they start to warm up, minor clicking. And then see if you can reverse the figure of 8 and go the opposite way as well. Good bit of yoga for your brain. And then release the hands, give them a little shake out. And we're coming through to tabletop position next. So that's onto the hands and knees. If you're using a blanket or towel, you could unfold it a little bit and just have it under your knees for a little bit of extra support and padding. If you don't have one nearby, no worries. Make sure you have a little space between your knees, spread out your fingers and bring your hands under your shoulders. Tabletop position. Now moving into cat and cow from here with your breath. As you inhale, start to slowly lift your head and arch your back, so your pelvis is tilting forwards, your tailbone is lifting. As you exhale, slowly round your back, lifting your back towards the ceiling and releasing your head between your arms. Again, slow breath in as you lift your head and look forwards, arch your back. Slow breath out, rounding the spine. Keep that going, slow and steady. Last one. And coming back to a neutral position with your spine, tabletop position. Make sure your arms are really straight and strong, pressing the ground away. Reach back with your right foot and see if you can lift your leg and find a balance here. We're going to flex the foot today and press the heel towards the back of the room. Try and bring your weight evenly across your hands so you're not leaning all the way over to one side. Straighten out those arms again, lift through the leg. Find your breath here. So what I mean by that is make sure you're breathing. Find a rhythm with your breath. If you feel ready, this is an optional extra. Be honest and kind with yourself about what you're ready for today. Left arm could come forwards into a balance here. If that's too much, bring the hand back down. Stay with the breath. Lift through the heel, lift through the hand. Final breath in. On the exhale, bring just your hand back down. Bring your right foot all the way around the side. Hoping you have enough space where you are. You might need to shift around or turn on your mat. But bring your foot out so it's in line with your knee. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what I'm doing a bit better. Then come up to stand on your left knee. Bring your right hand onto your right thigh. Left arm up towards the ceiling. Take a big breath in. Exhale, side bend over to the right. This is called gate pose. Try and engage a little bit through your glutes here if you can. So rather than allowing the bum to drift back, you're going to kind of tuck your pelvis and push it forwards. If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry. Just stay with the pose, stay with the breath. Take a big breath in as you lift back up. As you exhale, bring your hand down to the other side of you. Lean into that palm. Make sure your shoulder is stacked directly over your wrist. And then take your right arm up to the ceiling and overhead. So we're creating a long line from the tips of the fingers on this right hand all the way down the side of the body into the left foot. Really looking to stretch out that right hand side of the body. Find your breath. You can let your head relax a little bit here. One more breath. And then slowly bring this hand down, walk your hands back around to the front and release your leg coming back to tabletop position. Well done. Take a breath there, reset, so knees are under hips, hands are under shoulders. And then we'll send the left leg back. So reach back with your left leg. Notice again if all of your weight is over on one hand, try and bring your weight evenly across both hands. Straighten out your arms, lift through this leg, flex the foot. Breathe. I was definitely forgetting to breathe there. Then optional extra, if you feel ready for it today, sending the right arm forwards. You've got this, you can do it. Stay with it. One more breath. Breathing in, lifting everything up. On the exhale, bring just your hand to the ground and then bring your foot round the side. Again, trying to line up the knee and the foot so it's directly out to the side. And then we're coming up to stand on the right knee. So we're going into gate pose. Again, trying to sort of drive the hips forwards a little bit. Bring the left hand onto the thigh, right arm up to the ceiling. Inhale, lift and reach. Exhale, up and over. Big side body stretch. You might be feeling this through the inner thigh. You might be feeling it more around the shoulder. I'm feeling it mostly just here in this outer hip, but it might be different for you. One more breath here. Then inhale to lift and reach. Exhale as you bring this hand down to the ground, leaning into that palm. Left arm reaches up and over. Make sure again that this hand on the ground is under your shoulder. If it's too far away like this, it's going to put a bit more strain through the shoulder. So stacking wrist under shoulder, reach up and over with the left hand, lengthening out the left side of the body now. Breathing in and breathing out, bring the hand down, walk the hands round to the center and release the knee. Well done. So we're back in tabletop position. From here, we'll bring the big toes together, take the knees a bit wider, sit all the way back towards your heels, really press your hips down onto your heels or as close to the heels as they can get. Walk your hands forwards and rest your forehead either straight down onto the ground, or if that's a little far away, you could stack your hands and rest your forehead onto your hands. Come back to your breath. Try and soften through the forehead, soften through the jaw. And then when you're ready, come back up to tabletop position. We're going to move the blanket aside now and come into our first downward dog of this series, of this practice. So tuck your toes. We're going to lift and lower a couple of times to really warm up through the legs. So push with your hands, lift your hips up as high as you can. Come right up onto your tiptoes. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, bend your knees, bring them back down to the ground, but don't let them touch the ground. Let them just hover like this, just above the mat. And then we're going back up. Inhale, lift and reach the hips up to the ceiling. Exhale, slowly lowering the knees. Once more, breathing in, lift the hips up high. Exhale, lower the knees, let them hover. Inhale, lift the hips up really high. This time as you exhale, stay here in downward dog. And you could start to pedal through the feet a little bit like this. So bending one knee and reaching the opposite heel down. And then switching sides, waking up the ankles, the calves, having a little bit of a stretch and a move in Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Then looking forwards, bend your knees, walk your feet up to the centre of your mat, walk your hands back to meet your feet, bend your knees generously here, and let your upper body just dangle down over your legs. Let your head go, gently shake out your head left to right. Take a deep breath in, let it out with a sigh. Slowly start to roll up to stand. Gradually lifting, so your head is the last thing to come all the way up. Loop your shoulders back, have a little shake out. See how you're feeling. Okay, now we're coming to this balancing pose that I mentioned. So the legs and the sides of the body should be nicely stretched out and awake by now. We're going to come into tree pose, Vrksasana, with the option to try a different kind of variation with a side bend. So bring your feet fairly close together. Find a place where you feel you'll be able to balance. So if you're on a thick mat, you might find it easier to step onto a harder surface. And then bring your palms together in Anjali Mudra, this gesture that we often use at the beginning or end of our practice. Helps us to find balance, find our center. Shoulders down. Take a breath. Now bring your weight into your right leg and just start to bend your left knee. So you're coming onto the toes of your left foot. All of your weight is firmly in your right leg now. See if you can lift up a little bit taller, engaging the muscles through the left leg, through the right leg and through the right hip. Shoulders stay down. Turn your left knee out to the side like this and just keep the toes on the ground to begin with. If this feels really challenging, stay with your toes on the ground today. If you feel ready to go a little further, start to bring your foot just to your lower leg. Take a breath or two here. If that's really wobbly, don't worry, bring the foot back down. If it feels pretty steady, start to bring your foot a little higher up. The more you practice, you might find that you're able to use your hand to bring the foot all the way up to the inner thigh. But don't push it, you don't need to go there today, especially if you haven't practiced before or if it's been a while. We're just going to breathe here. Now, I'm feeling a little wobbly today, and that's okay. Part of this AHIMSA practice is being kind to ourselves even when we wobble, especially when we wobble. So if it is a wobbly day for you today, see if you can treat yourself with the same kind of kindness and compassion that you would someone else when they're struggling, when they're wobbling, physically or metaphorically. Can you offer yourself the same kindness you'd offer someone else when faced with something challenging? Keep lifting tall. Here's the option for the side bend. I'm going to bring this left hand down onto the thigh with the palm facing up. Right arm straight up to the ceiling. Big breath in. Exhale, side bend over to the left. Now this is tough. See how you go. There's no pressure with yoga to perform, to get it perfect. You're not doing this for anybody else, just for you. So just explore it. See, I'm wobbling too. I'm going to go for 2 more breaths here. If you can, come out sooner than that if you need to. Slowly lifting back up. Bring the hands back to center and release the leg. Well done. Give the legs a little shake out. Let go of however that went, whether it was great, whether it was really wobbly, whether you felt strong or weak, whether you felt steady or off balance. Let it go. And we'll try it on the other side. So set your foundations first, bring your feet together, stand tall, hands together, deep breath. Bring your weight into your left leg, bend your right knee. Stand tall on your left leg. Open your right knee out, keep the toes on the ground to begin with, find your breath, find a rhythm, inhalation, exhalation. When you feel ready, you could start to bring the foot to the lower leg. Again, find your breath, find your rhythm there before you move on. If that's wobbly, stick with it until it feels steady. If and when it starts to feel steady, you could take the foot a little higher. Engage your glutes here. Think about that driving forwards action with the hips, if that makes sense to you. Notice the difference on this side. Is it easier? Is it harder? Notice how you're talking to yourself throughout. Is it with kindness or is it with a little bit of judgment? Now there's the option for that side bend. You can choose to take it or leave it depending on where you are in your yoga practice today. If you want to give it a go, right hand is coming to the top of the thigh with the palm facing up. Left arm is lifting towards the ceiling. Big breath in, reach up. Exhale, small side bend over to the right. Stay with your breath. Keep lifting, pressing down into the ground with your left foot. 2 final breaths. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bring hands back to center. And then let the foot come down. Well done. And give it a good shake out. Very well done. Take the feet out wide now on your mat. Let your toes dial inwards just slightly. Bring your hands to your hips. Take a big breath in. Exhale, wide-legged forward fold. Keep the hands on the hips for today. Just let your head dangle down. You could bend the knees a little bit if you like here. Maybe shaking out your head slightly. And then let your hands just drop towards the ground. Doesn't matter if they touch the ground or not. Just let your shoulders and your arms get really heavy. Take another deep, full breath. And we're coming back down into a seated position from here. So you could come straight down if your hands are on the ground like this, or you could just step your feet back together and come to sit down that way. If you're using a blanket or cushion, we're going to grab that again. Come to sit now with your legs out in front of you. The legs worked really hard through that balancing posture, as I'm sure you will have felt. So we're just going to stretch them out slightly with a pose called Gomukhasana. So we're going to bend the right knee, cross the right foot over the left leg, and try and shuffle your foot in towards your body. So you're coming right onto the outer edge of this right foot. You might start to feel a bit of a stretch through the outside of the right hip straight away. If you're not feeling it there though, that's okay. That's just where I tend to feel it most. And then if that feels like enough for today, stay there. Alternatively, you can try leaning over to the left like this, bending your bottom leg and bringing that foot in close towards your body too. and then trying to come upright. If you're a little bit tilted here, it doesn't matter too much. If that's aggravating your knees in any way, then come back to the first version with the bottom leg straight. Another good opportunity to practice AHIMSA, non-harming. If your knees are feeling some discomfort, if they're just twinging a little bit, go with that gentler version. Then just bring your hands onto one or both feet. Lift up nice and tall. Take a big breath in. Slow breath out. You could close the eyes if you'd like. If you're not feeling much of a stretch as you are, you could gently lean forwards, go a little deeper into this hip stretch. But again, only if it feels safe. One more breath. Slowly lifting, come back up to sit. Take your hands behind you, release the legs. It might feel nice to just give a little shake out. And then we'll try it the other way. This pose can be really different from one side to the other, so see how you go. So we're bending the left knee, crossing the left foot over, shuffling the foot as close in towards the body as we can get it. And then have a little feel of how it is there. See whether you want to go with that second leg bent or not. Entirely up to you. And the more you practice, the more you'll get to know what your body is ready for and what it's not ready for. So if you're just not sure at the moment, don't worry. With time, with practice, you'll get to understand your body's cues a bit better. So it might be that you come to this double bent leg position, or it might be that you keep the bottom leg straight. Again, being mindful of the knees particularly here. Then once you feel you've got a version of this pose that you want to stay with, take a breath in, slow breath out. And again. There's the option to stay seated, sitting upright, or the option to just lean forward slightly. Final breath here. Slowly lifting. Take your hands behind you, release your legs. And we're coming into our final either relaxation or meditation. So you have the choice here to come to a comfortable seat, stay lifted in a seated position and take this as more of a meditation practice. Or you could come to lay down on your back, get nice and comfy and take it as a more relaxing meditation. Your choice. If you're coming to a seated position, make sure you're sitting tall, shoulders relaxed. And it might be nice to close your eyes now, whether you're seated or laying down. Now in this series, each practice is going to end like this, with a few minutes of quiet and reflection. I'm going to ask you a question in each practice that relates to the subject, the yama or niyama that we've been considering. So today we're considering AHIMSA, non-harming, also sometimes translated as just kindness or compassion. So my question for you to consider today: what is one small action that you could take today to start treating yourself more kindly? What is one small action you could take today to start treating yourself more kindly? take a slightly deeper breath. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take a moment to quietly thank yourself for making time and space in your day for this practice. When you feel ready, you could open your eyes. Thank you for joining me for this first practice in our Explore series. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope it's given you something to think about. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss any of the next videos in this series. And take care. Have a great rest of the day. I look forward to seeing you for episode 2.